Good afternoon. Welcome to the Delaware County Interactive Gaming Revenue Authority meeting for August 17th, 2023. We are running a little bit late today. We're starting this meeting at approximately 2:10. I call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'll ask our Secretary, Ron Evans, to conduct a roll call.
I can see that all four board members, or all five board members are here, and our solicitor Frank Dale is also here.
Okay, thank you. All of you should have received an agenda. And the agenda was also available on our website on Tuesday within the required time to post public agendas. I did post a correct agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments on the agenda? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion, agenda is approved. At this time, we will open the audience virtually and in person for public comment concerning the agenda. Ms. Tiffany, do we have any public comments online, remote? Okay. God bless you. So at this time, we will proceed with our agenda, and we do have an agenda item of a presentation of a special grant to the Share Food Program, Delaware County Operations, and we will come to the floor for a joint presentation.
Thanks, man. I can lift up to $10,000.
Yeah. Where we should be on this side.
So on behalf of the city, we'd like to make this $25,000 presentation to Share Food Program for the Delaware County Operations. This is the second consecutive year that we made a $25,000 contribution to the Share Food Program for the operations and logistics, warehouse and distribution, all the activities of the law and serving our citizens. We're here with George Mattis, Executive Director of the Share Food Program. The Share Food Program provides food supporting the neighbors in need. Regionally, over 50% of the recipients are either children, senior citizens, or people with disabilities. And approximately 10% of the residents of Delaware County fall below the poverty line. They call those much more. So on behalf of the city, we'd like to be proud to present this check of $25,000 to Share Food. That's why I'm going back to the track.
That's fair trade.
Thank you so much. Thank you for reporting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good work. You'll send them Thank you, everyone, for participating. Always have a little extra spring in my step when we're giving away to good causes. So thank you, everyone. All right, at this time,
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the July 2023 DeSigra meeting. Our secretary promptly provides those minutes to the authority after our meeting. And we all should have had an opportunity to review them. So do I have a second to approve the minutes of the July 2023 DeSigra meeting?
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstain, minutes are approved. Okay. At this time, I will turn it over to our treasurer for the treasurer's report.
Good afternoon. I got the treasurer report to your emails a little late this afternoon, so if you haven't seen it, listen attentively. The August 2023 treasurer's report, based on our last statement that we received for July, ending July 31st, we had an opening balance of $151,922.50. We did receive one of those checks from the state, our 1% portion came out to $155,869.80 deposited in the account this month. $7.56 interest. We paid close to $22,000 in checks that cleared. The ending balance on the statement is $130,000. $130,053.46. Our balance as of today is $234,843.26. You'll see on the treasurer's report, there were 8 cleared checks for outstanding checks. We have a unique, or one of our unique expenses, and that is it was time to purchase new checks from TD Bank. It's a $50 fee. I think normally it was a little less, but this time I went with the ones with the carbon copy. So we have new checks on order. They were $50. The other note I have on here is that, and I see it's coming up in our agenda regarding Course Vector, the 6-month payment that we made in advance for Course Vector had expired at the end of June. So we received an invoice in July. From our last meeting, I had forgotten that I had the authority to write a check to them because it was under the amount that you guys have allowed the treasurer to make a payment. So in order to not be late with the payment, I paid online to Course Vector on July 29th to avoid any fees, and I'll be requesting reimbursement through our account for the $150. So again, this month we have a invoice for the $150. So I see on the agenda, if I can jump a little bit, we're looking at maybe paying that in advance. So we can talk about that when we move forward. Any questions on the treasurer's report?
The outstanding checks, obviously, we just gave Share Food Program theirs. The other ones, Eastern Bountiful Blessings and Surrey, have they been sent to them?
Yes,
They just haven't cashed them.
correct.
When were they sent? Do you remember? Was it before the
Like the
last
1st of
meeting?
July,
1st of July, so it's been over.
mid-July, right?
Did I sign? I think I signed those at the last meeting, or was that when I signed them?
At the last meeting.
I think I
Yes.
signed them at the last meeting.
And mailed them
And they,
immediately.
yeah, they got mailed right after that. Yes.
That doesn't sound like Surrey. And
Well-
it had notification in it that they would have known what it was. They didn't apply for it, so I'm wondering if the check has gotten lost in their SIP system. Was there a letter with the check that said what it was for? Said this is a grant being provided to you.
Yeah, so Stefan either for example, after the meeting, he had the check signed and then I signed them because obviously we have to come together to sign the checks. So if he has them, he mails them. There are some cases where he has the checks, he gives me all the letters and he's waiting for me to get the grant agreements. Once I have the grant agreements, I mail them and I put a date of when I mail them. But
So they gave you their grant agreements already?
all these three organizations, all four of these organizations, I have their grant agreement. So the addressee of the that he mailed out was the same person that sent me the grant agreement. So they are aware of the check. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll ask Stefan, between myself and Stefan, we'll follow up with those people over the next week or two. Anything else on your treasurer's report?
I guess my, just a quick question, the outstanding checks, in terms of our current bank balance, should we be subtracting the outstanding checks in order to get our current unencumbered balance? Because I know we're gonna have conversations later in the agenda about grant allocations. So fair to say that our available balance is 195, 693.26.
With those 4 checks out, correct?
Okay.
Yes, plus I mean, we're probably gonna have to wait to do this at the next meeting, unfortunately. Unless we do a e-vote for the reimbursement to Stefan.
Oh, because it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, but that's a minor.
Sure.
expense, Yeah. You paid 150, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 150
Yeah,
for
so-
Spectre July's payment.
Figure those 4 checks plus the 150.
Plus the
that we
150.
owe Stefan.
I actually, yeah. Yep.
Any other questions on the treasurer's report? I make a motion to approve the August 2023 treasurer's report. I make a motion to approve the August 2023 treasurer's report. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Additional questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Treasurer's report is approved. I will make a motion, and we do have another expense, Vince. We have another expense I'm about to read in a second. That's not included in there. I'm gonna, yeah, it's a pending expense.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve payment of Daily Times invoice of 208.52 advertisement for food insecurity grant. And our account number is referenced. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carried. I make a motion to authorize the treasurer. Now we have another expense. Motion to reauthorize treasurer to prepay up to 6 months of website services. Do I have a second?
Second.
So that's another 150.
Times 6. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carried. Yes, so we had one motion to authorize him initially. And we're doing this in 6-month increments. This is to avoid him having to pay,
Of course.
send out a check every month, which he technically has the right to do, but since it's a combination, we're just putting it in this action item. And also, we're going to have a transition in that office soon. Any other questions or comments for the treasurer's report?
Just to say that I would have no issue with an e-vote to expedite the reimbursement.
Okay,
If the chair, decides.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And we can ratify that, I believe, based on our solicitor's advice at the next meeting. But the action can be executed. I do have a document. And I believe it's shared with the committee. This relates to the treasurer's report, and I was talking to Ron about it before the meeting. So when Stefan gives me the checks, before I mail them, I have been putting them into an Excel spreadsheet that lists the grantee, the amount, the category, the category of the grant, and the date that I actually mail it. In some cases, we present it as a real check or we present it as a symbolic check. So I have a spreadsheet. I will make sure that that is shared. And I'll just ask Stefan if you can, when you have the checks, if you can put them on there as well. So both of us are talking together, and then
Okay.
the subsequent treasurer can do that as well. So all of us can be mindful of how that's going. Okay. Because I know we get inundated with a lot of stuff and then we forget when things are mailed. So I do have, so for example, senior community services, we presented the real check and the symbolic check when they came to our meeting on the 20th. And now I'll update it with Share Food that we presented the real check and the symbolic check today. Okay, at this time, I'll turn it over to our solicitors to see if he has any comments or report.
Mr. Chairman, I'm pleased to report that there are no legal matters to report upon.
Thank you.
Usually a good thing.
Yes. Any questions or comments for the solicitor? All right, at this time, I'll open it up to old business. One of the agenda items I have is a possible Delaware County Literacy Council visit in September. And if we want to discuss any other possible grant categories, discussion. I did briefly reach out to Stefan Roots, given his experience on council in Chester in recreation, to provide any guidance. I don't know if you're prepared to do that at this time, concerning recreational equipment and installation, and maybe Vince can chime in as well based on his extensive knowledge as well. And I'm just coming from a novice as a concerned citizen that attends my municipality borough council meetings. But let's start off with Frances Sheehan. I know she has a good connection with the Delaware County Literacy Council. So I don't know if you have any update on a possible visit for September.
They could come in September. I would suggest they come in October though, because she's still very new. I think that'll give her an opportunity to continue to get under her belt,
Okay,
you know, what's going on in the organization and what their needs are. And I'm happy to reach out to her and invite her to attend in October and give us a briefing on what she sees as being the challenges of the organization, and were she to apply for funding, what she would
okay.
do with it. Would you like me to do that?
Yes, please. So we'll put it for October. Thank you. And I do just want to say that, yeah, I just want to see what the specific need is.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about that. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
I'll open it up for the other grant categories, but let's start with any guidance or suggestions or comments from Stefan and Vince concerning recreational spaces, equipment, installation, just your general sense of that type of area. Because I know we've discussed that as a possible grant category, and I just need a little bit more buy-in before we kind of go down that route. Do you want to start off, Stefan?
Yeah, I'll go first. Keeping in line with the spirit of this organization, I would, if we're going to do some work in the space of playgrounds and parks, I guess I don't see this organization using its money to supplement, municipal budgets that are earmarked to equipment and whatnot in the parks. But if I were to have a magic wand and say, hey, DeSigra, could you help me with something in the city of Chester? It would be the purchase of trash cans for the parks. So something to help us along with, just beautifying the area without directly contributing to seesaws or swing sets or, basketball nets. Trash cans are something that we can never get enough of. And we can also put markings on the trash can that they were contributed by, this organization as well. So that would be my only thought to Parks and Playgrounds, is to contribute to the beautification efforts by simply providing trash cans.
Vince?
Yeah, I would second that and agree with Stefan that in terms of just very basic improvements to quality of life, very few things mitigate litter as quickly and thoroughly as the availability of trash cans. So it's not the, for lack of a better word, it's not the sexiest investment in the world, but it is very practical and effective. I would also just say, though, that in terms of community development as a major part of our mandate and mission, and the goal of equity and inclusion that we have in our mission statement, that public spaces and playground equipment are invaluable investments. So much of Delaware County is a bedroom community, right? Places where folks not necessarily work, but live and raise their families. And if our communities don't have egalitarian, equal access public spaces, then they're not going to be attractive in the future for families and residents to come and live here. And so in terms of developing and building community, investments in those public spaces are critically important. And so a $10,000 piece of playground equipment could really transform a small neighborhood, could really provide much needed resource to an area. So in addition to the idea about trash cans that I really do like, I do actually think that investments in the infrastructure itself are really important, because when municipalities and nonprofits go to look at their budgets, these items are expensive for them, and oftentimes they end up on the cutting room floor. They end up on the chopping block because of other fixed costs that these organizations have. So I do think looking at those things as possible investments for the board in the area of parks and recreation could be very important.
Yes, I just want to chime in. From my understanding, although the equipment is costly, another area that's costly is the actual installation of the equipment. So I didn't know if that was an area that we could support, because a municipality may be able to get a discount on the equipment, especially a smaller, financially struggling municipality, and maybe through grants they can acquire the equipment. But sometimes the installation of that equipment, unless it's a special circumstance, like Mr. Roots was very successful in getting a Kaboom playground installed, I believe, correct?
Yeah, with regard to installation, no, that's usually a package deal. Like when you're buying a piece of equipment, you're also paying that company to come install it. The other issue that you could address is replacement cost of broken equipment. So you might have a sliding board that is broken off at the bottom, so you just replace the board. Those were some of the issues that we faced quite a bit when I took my inventory of park and playground assets. There was just a lot of pieces that needed to be either removed to eliminate the danger, or removed and replaced, or removed and repaired to make them safe. It's troubling to think as adults we don't have the eyes of kids. So there's playground equipment that has been sitting for years that is still attractive to a kid's eyes. It's still colorful, it still is inviting. But when they climb that platform, and that bubble plexiglass that you used to look out is now broken out and has jagged edges.
Yeah.
Those are things that kids will not avoid, because they're up there, and we as adults don't see it because we're on the ground. I found a lot of instances of that where there was just broken equipment that had sat and lingered for a long time. So to get some help to just in a lot of cases that I ran into, just removing this stuff, old benches that are made of stone that had, again, jagged edges because they were broken off, old water fountains that are no longer in use, or old makeshift spray parks that were nothing more than straight pipe that had slits in it that weren't used, were rusting out, and if approached or played with, could fall apart, could cut, could cause damage. Those are areas that I think people who have playgrounds should be identifying, and could easily put a price tag on removing. In some cases, we got our public works guys, to remove them once they were identified. In other cases, you have to bring in the playground guys, to bring them out because they have like replacements that they could pop right in. So, repairs and replacement, I think, is another category we could consider.
So looking at the original budget that we had sort of, we forecasted about a month ago, and I have extra copies if people would like to take a look at it. It looks like we're going to end the year. If we bring in the same contribution next quarter that we brought in this quarter, the almost 156,000, we'll end the year 80,000 ahead of where we thought we would end. We thought we would end at 46,000. Which we all felt comfortable with. That was more than enough to know that we were going to be able to cover our general operating next year. And so we talked about, we obviously are committed to the 50,000 in emergency grants. We're committed to finishing the food insecurity grants, I think.
Mhm.
Isn't that in here?
Yeah, those are our two active grants.
Yeah, and we may want to give 20, we talked about 20,000 to Delco Literacy Project, maybe. So if we were to go ahead with 50,000 for the arts and possibly add in another chunk for historical organizations, we had talked about 25,000 for economic and community development and parks. We could do more than 25, but that would depend on how much we wanted to do for historical organizations. And you had said, Paul, you wanted to put more into the emergency services, but we don't have the applicants. So I'm reluctant.
I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that
Yeah.
in a few minutes.
Okay. So I'm very comfortable setting aside some funding for playgrounds. But we'd have to really, we have 49 municipalities.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of playgrounds out there that are
I mean, to
under
Vince's point, playground equipment is super expensive.
super expensive.
That's
So expensive.
that was my reason for asking is if we do 50,000 in this category, how do we set up the criteria so we can maximize the impact? Is it
Right.
2 grants for 25,000, or is it repair and replace and 10 grants of 5,000?
Repair and replace is not cheap either, but things that could be spread across many. Chester has 35 parks and
And Upper
playgrounds.
Darby has a lot of parks. We have a
But
representative from the park.
we have a slide, playground, slide swings, mulch is always a big deal. So, you don't remulch every year. It's not super expensive, but it's an expense that, somebody could defray. There are some things in parks and playgrounds that, we could talk about
All right.
that could have, could be applied many places, but pieces of playground equipment, you will suck up $25,000, $50,000 so fast.
All right. So we've talked.
That's right.
We've talked about a lot of scope here. I'm going to ask Stefan and Vince if you guys can get together over the next month and kind of come up with a proposal for a new grant for this category. Figure 50,000. That may change between now and then. And
But is that what we want to do? I thought you wanted to do historical.
I'm going to talk about that.
And do we have the money for both?
We're going to talk about that.
I just am very conscious that these are two busy men and that's all.
I think that they're okay with at least discussing it. It's just a proposal we made that we're going to work on. Is that fair? You mind? You guys mind doing that?
I got it. Thank
All
you.
right.
We got it.
All right, thank you. All right. Let's go back to our agenda. Okay, I don't know why I have this one here. Okay. I'll make them. Okay, I think I understand why. So I'm going to make a motion and I'm going to give my rationale. Motion to approve individual grant applications for emergency services and food insecurity to occur at September meeting. We need review of applicants to occur before first Thursday of September. Do I have a second for that motion?
That needs to be a motion.
Why are we waiting on that?
Okay, I withdraw my motion. Uh,
Are we not ready to approve the grants that are already submitted for food insecurity? There are about 7 grants in there that we've reviewed
I
already.
did not put them on the agenda because we did not have,
Yeah.
I haven't reviewed them all.
Okay.
I don't have,
sorry.
I don't have them
I
on the
thought we
agenda for
needed,
this meeting.
I apologize. I didn't look at this carefully, obviously. I apologize.
No,
because
that's fine.
I reviewed them because I thought you wanted to have them approved at this meeting, but.
Yeah, I'm trying to, no, it's fine. I'm trying to consolidate some things. So
Okay,
we're not, I think it just makes sense to consolidate them. So if we can do the emergency services and the food insecurity all at the next meeting, I'll have them all listed.
okay.
Okay, if we exceed food and there may be some money left in food insecurity. I'm not sure. You've kind of been tracking that.
Well.
Based on your
I think
initial
we
review?
Had like 12 or 13 requests, all for 10,000 now. And I would.
All for 10,000.
Or came in the last couple of days?
Yeah,
Yeah. mhm.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
wonderful.
and I wouldn't be surprised if more come in the next few weeks.
Right.
So not that we're gonna approve all of them, but we might want to go above our 100,000.
Because that period was from July to, technically, that period was July to September, technically. Or until the funds were depleted, correct? I think that's what we voted at our last meeting. Wait a minute, I can tell you now, right now.
I think it was the end of the year.
Mr. Daly, that advertisement for food insecurity was August 1st. So then it was for August, September, and October, or $100,000, whichever came first. Okay, all right. So I withdraw the motion. Let's move forward. So I will make a motion I'll make a motion. We'll see if it's seconded, and then I'll provide comment. A motion to increase total $50,000 grant allocation for emergency services grant to $75,000 total for period of June 1st to August 31st, 2023 applicants. Do I have a second?
Well, open-minded to it, but I've heard the justification for the reason.
Say that again?
I'm open-minded to the idea.
Okay.
I haven't heard the reason.
I will make a comment before I ask for it. Yes, Mr. Daly.
Could have a second before we discuss. Or withdraw the motion and discuss.
Do I have a second? Or do I have a withdrawal?
I'll second the motion for the purpose of facilitating the discussion. Yeah.
Thank you. Comment. So we received approximately $46,038.18 of grants recommendations. So it's a difference between what was requested and what was recommended, because I did go through and screen them. However, before the month was out. However, as of today, we've received an additional request of $30,338.34. So the total recommendation plus the additional request is $76,421.52. Given the the amount of the contribution in the third quarter. I felt that we could try to accommodate this to the best of our ability and kind of meet in the middle, not go to $100,000 like we did last year, but go in the middle of $75,000. And I would right size the request to make sure that we are not over $75,000. So if that means the subsequent request would be funded at approximately, I did some rough math, 97% of their request. As far as dollars, I would keep it at the $75,000.
How much was their request?
The subsequent request was $30,338.34.
The maximum was $7,500 for those that were requesting
No,
certification.
I'm sorry, the aggregate of the request of emergency services organizations after this initial
Added up to.
tranche was $30,338.34. I have not vetted those yet.
Okay, I would be reluctant to approve this. I would be willing to consider it after looking at the additional applications. I'm reluctant to increase the amount that we're giving in this category without, I like the way that we've conducted our previous increases where we wait until we have, when we have applications that we're considering that we know we want to fund, we increase the pool and then we approve those grants. In this case, without feeling confident that we would want to approve those additional grants, my fear is that if we didn't want to approve them and we got to 50,000 and we didn't have an additional 25 that we wanted to approve, that we would then be out there looking for more applications. And so I would rather that, I think it's, yes, we have additional funding, but we've talked about doing some other things with additional funding. And I have no problem with us issuing an RFP for another 50,000 in January or February in the new year. But without feeling confident we want to approve the ones that have just come in, I'm not willing to, I would vote no to increasing the amount. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's why we have an authority. We have different perspectives and different opinions. I've glanced at the applications. I did not see anything that was alarming in those additional applications. Most likely they would not be fully funded, but they would be partially funded if we approve this request. A significant proportion of what they requested would be awarded.
So what I would suggest is that after all of them have been reviewed, you're confident about what you want to recommend. The rest of us have had an opportunity to review them as well, that if it's more than 50,000, that the pool is recommended with an increase to the maximum amount of the pool and no more. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's nothing hanging out there where we're waiting for more applications and that's just my thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with both the idea of expanding the pool, but also the idea of seeing the applications before we do that for the reasons that Francis stated. I mean, this might be, I don't know if this is exactly the right reason, but I would like to see, we didn't have enough. And so then I went out and promoted the application. And so
I will say I think that's fine, but there are so many organizations out there that desperately need money, that when they hear that there's money available, you get an application within days. And here we are dragging people into sending in applications. And that's just, there's something that I think
Go ahead, Vince. I don't want to interrupt
I
you.
agree with you. I understand your point entirely, and I think it's worth considering on a go forward basis. Not to pass the buck, I was asked by the authority to solicit those applications, so
That's fine.
I don't, but I understand your point, and I think we should be more mindful of it going forward, absolutely.
We've already got enough applications. Why are we going out and beating the bushes when we know there's so many other needs out there and organizations that are desperate for money? So,
No, I think that's a fair point.
Any other comments?
I mean, we've allocated the 50,000 because we believed in it, and I mean, we've kind of gotten in the habit of raising our limits a little bit when we kind of get applications more than that, and we believe in those applications. The people have taken the time to submit an application. To me, it makes sense to be open-minded to increase it if we, have the money. Our budget has turned out to be on the conservative side. We believe in what they're asking for. But I think it makes sense to wait, as Francis said, till we're looking at specifics and have an exact amount in mind.
Okay. I will withdraw my motion. I'll make a new motion at the next meeting based upon my recommendations.
and
Which
invite
may-
us to take a look at them and,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, which may include an increase.
yeah, maybe more than 75,000.
All right, slow down. No.
Part of my purpose was
Yeah.
to cease it right now on August 17th.
Cease what?
But by voting for increasing the allocation now, we cap it at 75,000. The grant is technically open until August 31st. So we may receive additional applications, and I may be coming back and asking you for 95,000.
And we may say no.
I was gonna say, I wouldn't, yeah.
Okay,
And it's all first come, first served.
yeah.
So if we hit 70, if it hits 75, and then there are a couple more that trickle in the day before the meeting, and they're not that super compelling, you can say, I'm not recommending these because they came in after thus and such a date, and
Right, and
you
that,
know.
that was another thing I was trying to avoid. I was
yeah.
trying to make sure everyone was funded. Okay. Thank you for, that's why we have an authority, and, it's a democracy. I'm withdrawing the motion. I'll make a new motion in September. We have a motion I'll read the motion, and then I'm going to withdraw this motion.
Oh, boy.
Because it's in the agenda. Motion to establish arts, culture, and history, total grant allocation of $100,000 with individual grants of up to $10,000 to Delco Arts participating organizations and other nonprofit organizations with a cultural and history education appreciation mission. Grant would commence September 1st through November 30th, awarded on a rolling basis. I am withdrawing that motion. I need more time to think about that. Given our budget and the expansion of that grant category, I just don't know if it's, I think it may be too ambitious with the need between those three categories and the amount. So I'm going to withdraw that motion.
So let me, what's the difference between the first motion and the second motion?
I'm going to withdraw that motion too,
Please, okay.
because I thought I was going to make that motion. I'm going to read this motion, but I'm going to withdraw it. Motion to authorize solicitor to advertise arts, culture, and history grant in Daily Times on or around September 1st, 2023. So I withdraw that motion as well. Okay.
There's one in the middle that I think is just.
That was a mistake on the agenda that I sent you, but the official agenda that I put on the website
Oh,
is correct.
okay.
Oh, you're reading off the one that I sent you.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
It was,
that was not.
I
okay.
duplicated it by accident. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna go with the official agenda that's available to the
Okay.
public.
So we have a busy September meeting. We're gonna be approving a lot of grants.
Other grants, yes.
And we're gonna be possibly increasing one or two pools of funding.
And
And we may be starting an arts,
new
culture and history fund, or arts and culture fund and history fund.
possibly,
Okay, busy meeting.
and maybe a recreational grant too. But ideally, I like to make sure, just for our organizational purposes, I like to have no more than 2 grant categories active at the simultaneous.
Yeah.
I think it's
a
too
lot.
much for us to manage on
I
yeah.
agree with you, yeah.
At this time, I'll open the meeting for public comment if we have anyone in the physical or remote audience that has a public comment. Oh, and I'll leave this, we didn't have this as an agenda item, but I will permit Vince to make any comments he has on his meetings or review. At this, no public comments. All right, we'll move on to authority comments. And not an official agenda item, but if Vince wants to provide any commentary on his review of outreach concerning our back office operations.
Sure. So I was asked by the authority to meet with the Delaware County Commerce Center and the Foundation for Delaware County about the possibility of providing both back-end financial and accounting support services, as well as potentially some grant making and board member training services. I was able to have a very productive and helpful meeting with the Foundation for Delaware County. Their staff provided me with a lot of information about their capacity and their software, which does seem excellent. And they provide these back-end services to a number of grant-making organizations in the county, including obviously their own grant-making enterprise. They were not able to give me exact pricing. They asked me to come back to them with some more information about our operations in terms of the number of deposits and the number of checks, the number of applications. They just wanted to get an idea for the exact scope of our operation before they parsed it out. And I asked them, to the best of their ability, to provide us with what I called kind of an a la carte pricing scenario, so that we could potentially start with some financial back-end services, and then as we got more comfortable, maybe board members could be trained on the software, maybe grant making and grant evaluation could become a part later on down the road. And there seemed to be a real genuine willingness and interest in partnering together and working together. So I am going to be asking the treasurer and the chair if I can provide some of this more detailed information, so that I can come back with specific pricing from the Foundation for Delaware County. I did also reach out to the Delaware County Commerce Center, and I have not heard back from them or otherwise been able to make contact with them, but I'm happy to continue to pursue them and others as potential partners. I was able to determine that when the county did their Delco Strong grants, the Commerce Center actually used the Foundation for Delaware County for a lot of their back-end support. So the foundation does seem like a strong option, and I'm happy to sort of answer any questions that authority members might have about any of that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or any comments from the authority members? Okay, sure. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned at 2:58 PM. Thank you.